20 years ago, Angela Fox dug 4 newborns from the garbage and fed them her last crust of bread. Tonight, those same children stand over Rivertown's richest graves. And the Black Widow's revenge has only just begun. Hey, lady, get away from that trash. You'll catch the plague. The drunk's voice sloshes through the downpour, half drowned by thunder. Lightning rips the sky open, and there she is. Angela Fox, barefoot in the mud, red blouse plastered to her skin, knees sunk in garbage. 4 infants wail in her arms, swaddled in torn yellow rags that might have been curtains once. If you are just joining us, hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell to get more thrilling stories like this. You new here? Another man slurs, swaying against a rusted dumpster. That's the Black Widow. Husband fell off Harlan's scaffold, splat. Now she's digging babies out of trash like stray cats. A soggy $5 bill flutters from the first drunk's fingers. Here, widow. For the whatever they are. Angela doesn't look up. Rain drips from her braids. Keep it. I've got 4 mouths and 1 heart. That's enough. She stumbles through the storm, boots forgotten, babies pressed tight to her chest. The shack door creaks open on one hinge. Inside, a single lantern flickers. Mommy's home, angels. She sets the bundle on the table. Half a loaf from the diner bin. Still warm. 4 tiny faces blink up at her. Eli, barely 2, pokes the crust. Hard, mama. Hard means it lasts longer. She breaks it into 5 pieces. Hers the heel. Noah tugs her sleeve. You eat. I already did, she lies, stomach growling louder than the thunder outside. Zion gnaws his piece silently. Grace, smallest, pushes hers back. I won't go to school. Let the boys. Angela's hands freeze mid-crumble. School starts Monday. 4 uniforms. $1.60. I've got $43 and a jar of pennies that rattles like bones. Grace stands on tiptoe. I stay. I'm little. Angela snaps 4 twigs from the broom handle. One she marks with red nail polish chipped from diner tables. Red stays home. They draw. Zion pulls the red twig. Fate picked me. Angela's voice cracks like the thunder. Fate don't raise my children, I do. She sways. The room tilts. Eli catches her arm. Mama, you're burning. Noah's fists clench. We quit school. We scavenge with you. Over my cold body, Angela rasps, gripping the table until her knuckles bleach. Dawn bleeds gray. She limps door to door, babies strapped to her back in a sling made of bedsheets. Old Mrs. Carter presses 2 eggs and a quarter into her palm. Sell these at market, widow. Bus leaves noon. Get those babies educated. By 11:57, 4 mismatched uniforms hang on the clothesline, paid in eggs, pity, and promises. 20 years later. Church bells toll. The same bells that rang when Marcus Fox's scaffold snapped. Town square buzzes. Mayor's bankrupt. Black Widow. Vanished. Good riddance. Inside the new hospital gala, a silver-haired surgeon steps to the mic. Security blocks the entrance. Ma'am, invitation only. Angela, frail now, hair threaded with gray, clutches a yellowed scrap of blanket. My son Eli's speaking. I just want to hear. Eli freezes on stage. Whispers to his aide. Get her out. Tell them she's staff. Love that begins in trash doesn't stay buried. 6 months before Marcus died, the scaffold groaned under his weight. Foreman Harlan waved him higher. Faster, we're behind. While pocketing kickbacks for cheap rebar that bent like licorice in the sun. Angela never knew the cables were cut until the foreman's wife bought a new Cadillac the week after the funeral. The town whispered curse, not crime. They buried Marcus in Potter's Field and Angela in gossip. But that night, the night the sky cried babies, she knelt in the dump because the diner had thrown out bread and she had 4 new mouths that didn't care about curses. She lifted the first infant. A boy, blue from cold. Then another. And another. 4 in all, abandoned like broken toys. Their cries braided together, louder than the rain. Hey! A voice shouted from the road. Headlights swept over her. Two men stumbled out of a pickup, bottles clinking. Ain't natural, for babies in trash. She'll kill him like she killed her man. Angela pressed the infants closer. My home is wherever these babies sleep. She ran. Bare feet slapping puddles, red blouse flapping like a flag of surrender and war. The shack was a mile away, one room, tin roof, dirt floor. She kicked the door shut and sank to her knees. No milk. No diapers. She boiled rags in a pot over a candle stub, tore her only good shirt for swaddling. Sugar water in a bottle cap. Eli sucked it down like it was honey. Dawn came gray and merciless. She counted coins on the table. 37 cents. Enough for one loaf. She divided it 5 ways. Hers the heel again. The town branded her that Sunday. Pastor Jenkins refused baptism at the church door. Unclean woman, unclean children. Bring them when you've got a husband and a home. Angela stood in the rain with 4 infants in her arms. God sees even what's thrown away. She named them under moonlight. Eli, Noah, Zion, Grace. Because grace is what finds you in the dirt. Words spread like rust. Black widow. Curse carrier. Baby thief. Children threw rocks when she passed. Trash babies. She taught them to walk with heads high, pockets full of bottle caps for marbles. At night she scrubbed motel toilets till her fingers bled, babies asleep in a cardboard box under the sink. The mute janitor slipped her a $5 bill once. For the yellow angels, he wrote on a napkin. She kept it in the Bible, next to Marcus's funeral card. Years blurred. The babies grew into children with scraped knees and fierce eyes. School loomed like a mountain. 4 uniforms. $160. She had $43. Grace drew the red twig. I stay. Angela sold her wedding ring for $120. The pawnbroker smirked. Gold soft. Like your luck. She bought the uniforms anyway. Mismatched shoes from the church bin. First day of school, the 4 walked single file, yellow scraps tied around their wrists like bracelets. Town kids threw rocks. Trash babies. Eli threw the first punch. Got suspended. Angela walked him home by the ear. We don't fight with fists. We fight with futures. Social services came when they were 13. Clean shirts, clipboards, pity smiles. One woman can't raise 4. It's neglect. Angela screamed until her voice shredded. Neglect is abandoning them in garbage. They took them anyway. Eli to New York. Noah to juvenile lockup after defending a smaller kid. Zion to a farm that needed hands. Grace to an aunt who wrote for papers. The shack echoed empty. Angela burned their drawings for warmth, whispering to yellow scraps. Find me when you're whole. The town forgot her. The curse, they said, had finally moved on. But curses have long memories. And love keeps receipts. Dawn scraped the tin roof with pale fingers. Angela sat at the splintered table, 4 infants breathing soft in their yellow nest. She appended the jar. Pennies rolled like dull bullets. 37 cents. She tucked them into her brassiere, safer than pockets, and stepped into the cold. The bakery dumpster gave up half a loaf, crust like armor. She hid it under her coat and ran. The shack door creaked. 4 pairs of eyes found her. Eli reached first. Mama. The word cracked her open. Noah, Zion, Grace echoed it. 4 voices in perfect accidental harmony. Mama. She sank to her knees, bread forgotten, arms full of warm miracles. Morning angels. She broke the loaf into 5 pieces. Hers was the heel with the green fuzz. She scraped it off with a cracked nail. Eat slow. Makes it bigger. Eli chewed solemnly. Noah tried to give his piece back. I ate at the bakery, she lied. Her stomach growled louder than the thunder outside. Market day. She pushed the wagon for babies, 1 blanket, wheels drunk. Mr. Leland weighed her with his eyes. 4 mouths now, widow. He slid a bruised apple across. Town's charity ain't a buffet. Angela met his stare. Charity's what you give when no one's watching. She left the apple. Took only the loaf she could pay for. Back home she boiled diapers in a pot that once held hope. Steam fogged the window. She sang Marcus's hymns, voice cracking on the high notes. The babies listened, thumbs in mouths, yellow rags damp. 3 a.m. The motel sign buzzed like a dying wasp. Angela scrubbed urine from tiles that would never come clean. The babies slept in a cardboard box under the sink, wrapped in stolen towels. Her knees bled through her jeans. Bottle collecting at dawn. Highway shoulder. Glass clinking like broken promises. A semi roared past. The wake flipped the blanket off Grace. Angela lunged, caught it, pressed it to her face. It smelled of baby powder and desperation. Mr. Alvarez waited by the dumpster every Thursday. Mute kind. He slipped a folded 5 into her palm. This time a note. For the Yellow Angels. She tucked both into the Bible beside Marcus's funeral card. Winter bit hard. The shack sweated frost. Angela burned phone books. Pages curling black. The children learned to walk by clinging to her legs. Eli said hungry before shoe. Noah hoarded crusts. Zion built bottle cap towers. Grace drew faces on the wall, for circles, one bigger. She taught letters on grocery flyers. A is for Angela, B is for bread, C is for cold. They traced with sticky fingers. The wagon wheel snapped. Angela carried all for the last mile. 2 on her back, 2 in her arms. Her spine screamed. At the shack she collapsed, babies tumbling. Eli patted her cheek. Mama okay? Always, she whispered and meant it. Spring. The children were 3, all legs and questions. Why no daddy? Noah kicked a cap. Daddy's building houses in heaven. Sends love in the wind. Grace pointed at yellow shirts. Why yellow? The sun chose you. Even on rainy days. She took cannery shifts, peeling peaches till her fingers pruned. Paid in dented cans. Hid them under the floorboard with the 5s and the funeral card. Eli burned with fever. Angela walked 3 miles to the clinic. Nurse shook her head. No insurance. She laid Eli on the steps and sang till dawn. Fever broke with the sun. Pastor Jenkins sent beans and a tract. She took the beans. Summer storms. Lightning stitched the sky. Angela counted coins, 89 cents. Enough for milk if she skipped bread. Lacing boots for night shift when the knock came. 3 sharp raps. Official. She opened to a woman in gray, clipboard gleaming. Mrs. Fox? Child Services. Reports. Eyes flicked to the children, clustered behind her legs. 4 minors. 1 room. No water. Neglect. Angela's heart stopped. They're fed. Loved. Love doesn't pay for diapers. The woman stepped in, boots printing dirt. Protective custody. Today. Eli clutched her thigh. Noah's lip trembled. Zion hid behind Grace, yellow shirt bright as a scream. Angela's voice came steady, steel under tears. Over my cold body. The social worker smiled without warmth. That can be arranged. If this mother's fight moves you, hit subscribe. Every click keeps stories like Angela's alive, stories the world tries to bury. Don't look away now. The sun hung low and mean, baking the tin roof until the shack smelled like a skillet. Angela pushed through the door, arms full of yesterday's bread, the kind the diner sold for a nickel when it was too hard to chew. 6 years had stretched the children tall and thin, all elbows and questions, yellow shirts patched into Sunday best. Mom's home, she called, voice hoarse from cannery dust. 4 heads snapped up from the floor where they played bottle cap checkers. Eli sniffed the loaf. Mom, this has green spots. Angela set it on the table like a prize. Green means extra vitamins. She scraped the mold with a knife older than they were. Eat up. School starts Monday. Noah tore his piece in half, offered the bigger part. You first. I ate at the factory, she lied again, stomach folding in on itself. Zion counted on his fingers. 4 uniforms. 4 books. 4 pencils. He looked up, eyes too old for 6. That's a lot of money. Angela pulled the jar from under the floorboard. Coins clinked like dry bones. She counted twice. $120. Need 400. Grace, smallest but fiercest, stood on a crate. I won't go. Let the boys. Angela's knees buckled. She caught the table edge. No child of mine stays behind. Silence thick as humidity. Then Eli quiet. We draw lots. Like the Bible. Angela's throat closed. She remembered Marcus reading about soldiers casting lots for Jesus's robe. She snapped 4 sticks from the broom. One painted red with the last of her lipstick. Red stays home. They drew in birth order. Eli first. Clear. Noah, clear. Zion, clear. Grace pulled the red stick, held it like a dagger. I'll stay, she said. Teach myself. Angela sank to the floor, sticks scattering. Fate don't get to choose my children's future. Tears cut tracks through the dust on her cheeks. I do. That night she walked to the pawnshop under a moon thin as a dime. The broker turned her wedding ring in greasy fingers. Gold soft. Like your luck. 300. She took the bills without counting. At the dry goods store she bought 4 uniforms. 2 boys' shirts too big, 2 girls' dresses too small. Needles and thread for the rest. She sewed until her eyes crossed. Yellow scraps stitched into collars like medals. Morning of the first day. The children lined up in mismatched shoes from the church bin. Eli's left heel flapped. Noah's laces were string. Zion carried books tied with twine. Grace clutched a pencil stub like a sword. Angela walked them to the schoolyard gate. The bell clanged. Town kids gathered, pointing. Trash babies. A rock sailed, clipped Zion's ear. Blood beaded. Angela stepped forward, arms wide. Touch them again, you touch me. The teacher, Miss Harrow, appeared with a ruler. Inside, all of you. Learning don't care where you slept. The 4 marched in, heads high, yellow collars bright as flags. Angela watched until the door closed. Then she turned for home, wedding finger bare, heart full. She didn't see the social worker's car parked across the street, engine ticking as it cooled. If Angela's fight for her children's future breaks your heart, hit subscribe. Every click is a uniform, a pencil, a chance. Don't let their story end here. The morning they turned 13, the sky pressed down like a lid. Angela woke before the rooster, counting coins again. $112, all that stood between her children and the world. She'd planned to buy Eli new shoes. The soles had worn through to sock. Instead, she bought silence. The knock came at 7 sharp. Not the soft rap of neighbors, but 3 hard bangs that rattled the tin door. Angela opened it to Miss Carver. Gray suit, clipboard, eyes like winter glass. Angela Fox. The woman didn't wait. Child Protective Services. We're removing the minors. Behind her, 2 deputies shifted like shadows. Angela's heart slammed against her ribs. On what grounds? 1 woman. 4 adolescents. No plumbing. No electricity. It's neglect. Neglect is abandoning them in garbage. Angela's voice cracked like a whip. She stepped forward, blocking the doorway. They've got shoes. They've got school. They've got me. Miss Carver's pen scratched. Shoes with holes. School with truancy flags. You working 3 jobs. Sleeping 2 hours. The state has placements. The children stood behind her now, 13 years tall and trembling. Eli clutched a library book on anatomy. Noah's fists were white. Zion held the wrench he'd forged from scrap. Grace's notebook, filled with stories of their mother, was pressed to her chest. Angela knelt, eye level. Listen close. You're foxes. Foxes don't break. Miss Carver produced papers. Sign or we take them by force. Angela's hand shook so hard the pen carved grooves in the table. She signed. They gave her 10 minutes. She tore the original yellow blankets, threadbare now, soft as memory, into 4 pieces. 1 for each child. Keep this, she whispered, tying Eli's around his wrist. Proof you were wanted. Noah's went into his pocket. Knuckles brushing hers. I'll fight the world, Mama. Starting with them. Zion tucked his into the wrench handle. I'll build you a house big enough for all of us. Grace pinned hers inside her notebook. I'll write the truth till they choke on it. The deputies loaded them into separate cars. Eli to a medical track foster home in New York City. Somebody saw genius in his sketches of bones. Noah to juvenile detention after decking a bully who called Grace trash. Zion to a farm in Iowa that needed hands and taught welding. Grace to Aunt Clara in Chicago, the only relative who answered the phone. Angela stood in the yard until the dust settled. Then she walked inside. The shack was a tomb. 4 empty corners where laughter used to live. She gathered their drawings, Eli's careful hearts, Noah's angry fists, Zion's impossible machines, Grace's looping stories, and fed them to the stove. Flames ate childhood in greedy gulps. She sank to the floor, yellow scraps clutched to her chest. Find me when you're whole. Outside, the town exhaled. The Black Widow's curse was gone. The trash babies were scattered. Rivertown could sleep. But love doesn't scatter. It roots. For children torn from the only mother they've known. If this rips your heart out, hit subscribe. Every click is a yellow scrap, a promise kept. Don't let them disappear. 20 years is a long time to carry a scrap of yellow cloth. Eli Fox, New York City. Present day. The operating theater smelled of iodine and fear. Monitors screamed. The governor's son, 16, skateboard accident. Bled out on the table. Eli's hands moved like lightning over the boy's skull. Yellow scrap tied tight around his wrist beneath the glove. Pressures dropping. Clamp. He saw Angela's face in the boy's. Scared, trusting. Foxes don't break. 4 hours later, the boy breathed on his own. Headlines exploded. Miracle DOC from nowhere. Eli posed for photos, wrist hidden. In his locker, P.O. Box key. A. Fox, return to sender. Empty. Always empty. Noah Fox. Death Row, Louisiana. The courtroom stank of sweat and old wood. Jamal Hayes, wrongly convicted, 17 years gone, sat shackled. Noah's suit was cheap but sharp. Yellow scrap folded in his wallet like a pressed flower. State's witness lied under oath. Noah thundered. Here's the transcript. Page 43. Jury wept. Verdict. Not guilty. Jamal hugged him in the hallway. How can I repay you? Noah pressed the yellow scrap into Jamal's hand. Find the woman who raised me in dirt. Tell her I'm coming. P.O. Box key in his pocket. Still empty. Zion Fox. Hurricane aftermath. Texas coast. The town was gone. Houses peeled open like tin cans. Zion stood in mud to his knees. Yellow scrap knotted around his hard hat strap. Foundations first, he told the crew. Then roofs. Then hope. He worked 18-hour days, refusing FEMA pay. Local reporter, why no fee? Zion wiped mud from his eyes. Pay it to the woman who raised me in dirt. He mailed the check to A. Fox. Return to sender. Returned unopened. Again. Grace Fox, Chicago. Pulitzer ceremony. Spotlights. Applause. Grace's expose, The Pipeline, How Children Disappear, had dismantled a trafficking ring. She climbed the stage in a dress the color of storm clouds, yellow scrap pinned inside the lining like a heartbeat. This award, she said, voice trembling, belongs to the mother who found me in trash. Cameras flashed. She didn't smile. Backstage, she checked her phone. A new lead, Rivertown, 20-year-old construction death. Cover-up. Mayor Harlan. Her fingers flew. A. Fox. Return to sender. One new letter. From Rivertown. No return address. Convergence. 4 phones pinged within the same hour. Eli, Rivertown General needs a trauma wing. Anonymous donor. Noah, wrongful death suit filed. Marcus Fox, 20 years cold. Zion, town infrastructure collapse imminent. Need engineer. Grace, tip. Mayor Harlan embezzled rebuild funds. None knew the others were coming. None knew Angela had vanished 3 days prior, last seen clutching yellow rags, muttering about my children. P.O. Box, Riverton Post Office. The clerk slid 4 envelopes across the counter. Been holding these. Sender unknown. Inside each, a single yellow thread and a note in the same shaky hand. Come home. The town's dying. So am I. 4 lives built from trash, now returning to save the woman who saved them. If this doesn't wreck you, what will? Subscribe. Every click is a yellow thread pulling them back together. Don't let the story end in silence. Rivertown woke to sirens that weren't coming to save anyone. The bank had padlocked the factory gates at dawn. By noon, the grocery store's shelves were bare. Owner fled with the cash box. By dusk, the water tower dripped rust instead of water. Mayor Harlan's face, once plump with pork barrel promises, now sagged on every lamppost. Wanted, embezzlement. Town hall overflowed. Folding chairs scraped. Babies wailed. Someone had dragged in the old church pews. Splinters bit through thin pants. We need a miracle. Mrs. Carter shouted, voice cracking like the pavement outside. Pastor Jenkins clutched his Bible like a shield. Maybe the widow's curse finally caught us. Snickers. Then silence. No one laughed at curses anymore. A boy shoved through the crowd, envelope trembling in his fist. Left on the podium. No name. The mayor out on bail, Ty Askew, snatched it. Inside, 1 yellow thread and 4 words in shaky ink. Salvation comes in 4 parts. Be at town hall, Friday. Friday came gray and hungry. Angela had vanished 3 nights earlier. Old Mr. Alvarez found her in the abandoned warehouse by the tracks. Curled like a question mark, yellow rags clutched her chest, lips blue with cold. She weighed less than the lies the town had fed her. Starving, the paramedic whispered. How long since she ate? Alvarez shook his head. He'd slipped her 5s for 20 years. She'd always given them away. They wheeled her out on a gurney, oxygen mask fogging with every shallow breath. The yellow rags fluttered like surrender flags. At town hall, the crowd swelled. Phones died, no signal, no power. Someone started a hymn, it died in their throats. 4 black SUVs rolled in at sunset, tires crunching broken glass. Doors opened in perfect sync. 4 strangers stepped out, tailored coats, city shoes, eyes that had seen the world and come back harder. The first carried a surgeon's calm. The second, a lawyer's fire. The third, an engineer's steady hands. The fourth, a journalist's unblinking stare. No one breathed. A town that threw away a mother now begs the children it scattered. If this doesn't gut you, check your pulse. Subscribe. Every click is a yellow thread stitching a family back together. Don't look away now. The town hall doors slammed shut at 7 p.m. sharp. Cameras rolled. Phones were confiscated at the door, no leaks, no panic. The moderator, a nervous county clerk named Dolores, clutched her note cards like rosary beads. Order. We'll hear the anonymous donors now. 4 strangers walked the aisle in perfect step. Eli, white coat folded over his arm, surgeon's calm. Noah, tie loosened, courtroom fire in his eyes. Zion, work boots still dusted with Texas mud. Grace, notebook pressed to her chest like armor. They took the podium together. No one sat. Dolores swallowed. State your pledges. Eli spoke first, voice steady as a scalpel. 2 million. Trauma wing. Rivertown General. Named after the woman who taught me bones can mend. Noah stepped forward, yellow scrap flashing from his wallet. 1.5 million. Legal defense fund. For every kid the system tries to throw away. Zion's hands were steady, calloused. Cipriani, 3 million. Roads. Water. Foundations. So no child walks to school in mismatched shoes again. Grace's voice cracked like thunder. 1 million. Community paper. Truth in print. So no mother is ever called trash again. Dolores's cards trembled. Why anonymity? 4 voices rose in perfect, terrible unison. For the woman who raised us from trash, Angela Fox. The room detonated. Gasps. Chairs scraping. Someone screamed. Cameras zoomed on Mayor Harlan. Face the color of ash, hands clutching the table as if it might float away. Dolores fumbled for the remote. The wall screen flickered to life. Live feed from the hospital. Angela. Gurney. Oxygen mask. Yellow rags clutched like lifelines. The paramedic's voice crackled. Critical. Malnutrition. Hypothermia. She's asking for her children. Eli was already moving. Noah vaulted the rail. Zion shoved through the crowd. Grace sprinted, notebook abandoned, yellow scrap fluttering from her pocket like a battle flag. 4 sets of boots pounded the aisle. 4 hearts beat the same rhythm. Mama. Outside, the night swallowed them. 4 SUVs roared to life. Yellow scraps whipped in the wind. 4 tiny banners of a war the town never saw coming. They came for the mother who never stopped coming for them. If this doesn't shatter you, nothing will. Subscribe. Every click is a heartbeat keeping Angela alive. Don't let the reunion end here. The hospital corridor smelled of bleach and old fear. 4 chairs. 4 siblings. 1 mother behind glass. Angela lay small beneath white sheets. Yellow rags folded on the tray like holy relics. Monitors beeped a lullaby no one asked for. Eli sat closest. Surgeon's fingers laced through hers. Noah paced, tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled to the elbow. Zion leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes on the floor. Grace live-streamed from the corner. Phone propped on a styrofoam cup, lens steady as a heartbeat. Rivertown, she whispered to the camera, voice raw. Watch. Across town, the press conference was a circus without a tent. Mayor Harlan stood at the courthouse steps, flanked by lawyers who looked ready to bolt. Flashbulbs popped like gunfire. Microphones thrust forward like spears. Harlan's hand shook. I have a statement. Grace's stream split-screened. Hospital bed/courthouse steps. Thousands watched. The town. The world. Harlan's voice cracked on the first word. I cut Thiebaud's safety cables. The crowd inhaled as one. Shoddy concrete. Kickbacks. Marcus Fox was collateral. His knees buckled. His death bought my election. A woman screamed. Someone threw a shoe. The mob surged. Grace's voice steady. Listen. Noah's fists clenched. Justice isn't revenge. It's truth. Harlan clutched his chest. Collapsed. Cameras swiveled. Chaos. Eli was already moving. Stroke. Move. He shoved through the hospital doors, white coat flapping, yellow scrap tied tight around his wrist. Noah cleared the path. Zion carried the crash cart like a battering ram. Grace kept streaming, tears cutting tracks through her makeup. Operating theater. Eli's hands, steady as the night he saved the governor's son, now worked on the man who killed his father. Pressures crashing. Defibrillator. Clear. Thump. Clear. Thump. Harlan's heart restarted with a gasp. Back in the ICU, Angela's finger twitched. Then again. Eli burst in, blood on his scrubs, eyes wild. She's waking. 4 heads snapped up. 4 voices, 1 breath. Mama. Grace's stream caught it all. Angela's eyes fluttering open, the moment 4 grown children became babies again. Angela's lips moved. No sound. Eli leaned close. She whispered. So, the world finally saw my children. Tears fell like rain. Outside, Pastor Jenkins knelt in the parking lot, leading a prayer no one mocked anymore. The town that threw rocks now bowed heads. A mother hears her children's voices after 20 years of silence. If this doesn't wreck you, check your soul. Subscribe. Every click is a prayer for Angela. Don't stop believing now. The ICU room was quiet except for the soft whoosh of the ventilator and the steady beep of Angela's heart. 4 grown children stood around her bed like pillars holding up a sky that had finally stopped falling. Eli's hand rested on her pulse, counting beats the way he once counted pennies. Noah's fingers traced the yellow scrap tied to her wrist, the same one he'd carried into courtrooms. Zion stood at the foot, palms open as if offering the strength he'd used to rebuild towns. Grace held her phone low, no longer streaming, just recording for them for always. Angela's eyes fluttered. A nurse gasped. Then, a whisper, thin as thread but strong as steel. "So, the world finally saw my children." The room exploded in quiet chaos. Eli's sob broke first, raw and surgeon steady. Noah dropped to his knees, forehead against her hand. Zion's shoulders shook, silent tears cutting tracks through dust that wasn't there. Grace's voice cracked as she narrated, soft and reverent. "She's awake." Angela's gaze moved slowly, drinking them in. Eli, tall, eyes sharp with the focus that saved lives. Noah, fierce, the fire she'd kindled in a shack now ablaze for justice. Zion, broad, hands that built bridges from broken things. Grace, bright, words her weapon, truth her shield. "My angels," she rasped. All grown. Outside the window, Rivertown knelt. Hundreds filled the parking lot. Former rock throwers, gossip mongers, the pastor who'd refused baptism. They sank to their knees on cracked asphalt, heads bowed. Mrs. Carter clutched the eggs she'd once sold for uniforms. Mr. Alvarez held a $5 bill, crisp and new. Pastor Jenkins's voice rose in prayer, not for forgiveness now, but for gratitude. Inside, Angela's fingers tightened on Eli's. "Water," she croaked. He held the cup, steady as he'd held a scalpel over Harlan's brain. She sipped, eyes never leaving them. "You came back," she said. "We never left," Noah answered. "Not really." 3 months later. The hospital gleamed, new wings, new hope. The old building had been gutted, rebuilt with Zion's blueprints, funded by pledges that poured in after Grace's stream went viral. The town that once starved Angela now fed her legacy. The plaque unveiling was held at dawn, under a sky the color of the yellow rags. A crowd gathered, thousands now from Rivertown and beyond. News vans lined the street. Children waved handmade signs. "Thank you, Mama Fox." Eli stood at the podium, white coat crisp, yellow scrap pinned to his lapel like a medal. Noah flanked him, suit sharp, eyes soft. Zion held the cord that would drop the veil. Grace stood ready with her camera, no longer streaming, just capturing. The mayor, Harlan, frail in a wheelchair, trial pending, sat in the front row, head bowed. He'd confessed everything, lived to face it. Mercy had kept him breathing. Truth would decide the rest. Zion pulled the cord. The veil fell. Angela Fox Children's Hospital. She turned trash into treasure, orphans into angels. The crowd roared. Angela, frail but smiling in a wheelchair, was pushed forward by Eli. Her braids were threaded with silver now, but her eyes burned with the same fire that had knelt in a dumpster 20 years ago. She wore a new red blouse, Grace's gift, and the yellow rags, now cleaned and pressed, draped over her lap like a coronation robe. She raised a trembling hand. The crowd hushed. "I found 4 babies in the dirt," she said, voice carrying on the wind. "The world called them trash. I called them mine." Tears fell like rain. That evening they took her home, not to the shack long demolished, but to a house Zion built on the same plot. Simple. Strong. Yellow shutters. A porch wide enough for 4 chairs and a lifetime of stories. The epilogue scene unfolded under the same stormy sky that had cried babies all those years ago. Clouds churned, but no rain fell. Just light, golden and fierce, breaking through. Angela sat on the porch, blanket over her knees. Eli poured tea, steady hands. Noah read from Grace's old notebook, the one she'd filled at 13. Zion tuned a radio to a station playing Marcus's favorite hymns. Grace filmed, whispering to the lens. "This is where legends begin, in the dirt." The yellow blankets, original scraps, now framed, hung on the wall inside, for squares of faded sunshine. Angela touched the glass over Eli's. Then Noah's. Zion's. Grace's. "You were never my burden," she said, voice soft but sure. "You were my beginning." Church bells rang, same as the day Marcus fell, same as the day they took her children. But now they told for honor, for redemption, for a mother who turned curses into crowns. The town listened. The world watched. And 4 angels, once trash, now treasure, held their mother's hands as the sky finally cleared. A mother's love rewrote a town's ending. If this doesn't restore your faith, nothing will. Subscribe. Every click is a brick in Angela's legacy. Don't let the bells stop ringing.